These are 8 times Islam Makhachev went into complete beast mode. Since claiming the UFC lightweight title, Islam Makhachev has worked his way up to being the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world and is showing no signs of slowing down.
Khabib said, I told you he's the best in the world. And yeah, the big question going in tonight was how is he going to deal with the pressure? He dealt with it just fine.
But his reign of destruction started long before he had the belt wrapped around his waist, and the next 8 examples prove exactly that, starting with his first UFC knockout, facing a guy who many thought gave Islam's legendary teammate Khabib Nurmagomedov the toughest test of his career. Islam Makhachev entered the UFC as Khabib's undefeated 12-0 prodigy in 2015, and he lived up to the hype with a submission win in his debut, but unfortunately, he'd suffer his first and only professional loss in his second fight, when he got knocked out by Adriano Martins. Since then, Makhachev has evolved into a perfectionist, bouncing back with 2 dominant victories before facing Gleison Tibau, the fighter who many believe gave Khabib his toughest challenge and even deserved the win in their controversial bout. So if Tibau was the guy to push an undefeated Khabib to the limit, what could he do to Islam? Well, it didn't take Makhachev long to silence the doubters. After a brief feeling out period, the Dagestani unleashed a thunderous left hook that sent Tibau crashing to the canvas in an instant. It was Makhachev's first knockout win since 2011.
Big left hand.
Now I very good feel. I am now very happy.
Makhachev kept climbing the ranks with 3 more victories before stepping into the cage with Dober, a hard-hitting lightweight known for his knockout power. Dober was taking Makhachev very seriously heading into the fight, although he wasn't sure if he was the real deal, but Islam was about to answer all of his questions. Islam fought Dober as an 18-1 prospect with a ton of hype behind him, which the American felt was real.
I think he's a little bit more methodical than Khabib, and so I could see where the hype and the respect comes from. Do I entirely believe that it's he earned it, or are people giving it to him? I'm not quite sure. So I get to see his temperament and his personality come weigh-ins, and then the first round of that fight, I get to see truly if he lives up to that hype.
Excluding Dober, the Dagestani silenced the doubters by showcasing his grappling mastery, taking Dober down early in every round and completely smothering him on the mat. To his credit, Dober resisted well and managed to fend off the inevitable for a while, but in the 3rd round, Makhachev wrapped things up, locking in a submission and proving that the hype wasn't just real, it was undeniable.
Wow!
I just make him tired first and finish him.
In his next fight, Makhachev beat #15 ranked Thiago Moises in his first UFC main event, and despite his dominant performance, a cocky Dan Hooker wasn't impressed and had no doubt that he'd be the one to end the Makhachev hype train. After Makhachev beat Moises, he claimed that nobody in the lightweight top 10 wanted to fight, and Hooker responded by saying that he didn't deserve a big fight.
The fight doesn't make sense for a lot of those guys sitting ahead of him. Why he just beat number 15, or he just beat number 15, and then he beat number 15, and then guys in the top 5 are supposed to be howling his name and taking the fight.
When asked about a potential clash with Islam, Dan Hooker didn't hold back, boldly claiming he'd drown the rising star and put an end to the Dagestani hype train.
I would want that fight to be a 5-rounder for sure. And I think that's like 2.5 rounds of defending takedowns and scrambling back to my feet. But then once I'm back up there, I feel like I put his lights out.
Not long after making these comments, Hooker got his chance to put his money where his mouth is when he stepped in on short notice to take on Makhachev at UFC 267. Heading into their battle, Hooker's confidence was through the roof, despite him being a heavy underdog.
People can say whatever they're gonna say, like, oh, this guy's unbeatable, this guy's untouchable. I've been in the gym with these guys, you know, like, they all bleed, they all get tired, they all get injured, they all get hurt, and I know I can put anyone's lights out. So to me, to everyone else, he's kind of mysterious character that's like got a lot of mystique and invincibility. To me, he's just another body.
Makhachev knew exactly what he had to do to make Hooker pay for his trash talking.
I have to finish then Hooker because I finished last my 3 opponent, and I tried to finish all my opponents, But I have to show people, show UFC how my level, because very soon I have to fight for the title.
Once the cage door shut, Hooker found himself outmatched on all fronts. He couldn't land on Makhachev, nor could he survive the Dagestani's suffocating grappling. It wasn't long before Makhachev took him down and locked in a Kimura, securing the finish with such ease that he was still completely fresh afterwards.
I feel very happy because I don't have injury, not sweating. I don't need to take shower after fights,
Just when one cocky challenger was sent packing, another in the form of King Green came knocking on Makhachev's door. But Green too was about to pay the price for being too cocky and underestimating a beast like Makhachev, and he had some pretty controversial excuses following their bout. Heading into their fight in early 2022, Green talked a ton of trash, calling Makhachev boring and explaining that no one cared about his fights.
With Islam, he does what he does, but to be honest, it's kind of boring. Even if he getting finishes, it's still been boring. And so my whole thing is entertainment, excitement, So he can be championship material, but it's just getting boring. Nobody wants to see it. I fall asleep watching his fights. And then it's like, oh, there's the finish. And so they can show a bunch of finishes, which is cool. But it was sleeping, it was boring, it's lackluster.
Makhachev didn't let Green get under his skin, sticking to his promise to keep things simple.
I have always same plan. Take down, make them tyrant, and finish him there. Same plan I have with Bobby too.
The two fighters clashed at a UFC Fight Night in February 2022, where they exchanged calculated strikes early on. But it didn't take long for Makhachev to close the distance, clinch, and take the fights to the ground, before finally overwhelming him with punches to earn a TKO finish. Makhachev's strength that night was so undeniable that Green later admitted something felt off.
I told my coach the same thing. There was something interesting about Islam, and I felt it. I'm like, it's just not human. It makes sense. If I could do drugs, because our countries are different. Russia's been banned for the Olympics, Their country's a little bit more okay with the drug use. His school that he trained at in Russia, they just gave him vitamins, They've been doing this since who knows when you start training. Imagine if you gave someone steroids from the age of 10, 12, 13, 14, 15, how strong you would be. People were like, he was really strong. It makes sense now.
Regardless of what Green thought, Makhachev was now on a 10-fight winning streak, and it was his time for a shot at the lightweight title. And in what was supposed to be the toughest fight of his career, he was about to completely destroy the most dangerous man in the division at his own game. Heading into UFC 280, both Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev were riding impressive double-digit win streaks, with Oliveira taking down big names like Michael Chandler, Dustin Poirier, and Justin Gaethje, but Makhachev knew that he was different.
Honestly, my style bad for him because, he always pressured his opponent because nobody tried to take him down. All these guys lost his opponent, scare his ground game, but I don't care about his ground game. I don't care about his grappling. He know Islam Makhachev very hard fight for him.
What if you can't take him down? What if you can't take him down?
Exactly. That's my question.
I'm gonna take him down very, very fast.
Oliveira wasn't concerned as he felt Makhachev was just another dude in a long line of opponents who talked big, only to meet a brutal fate in the cage.
I think that is my differential. That's my difference with other people. I think I'm a step ahead of these guys. I'm going to do my job, and that's to knock out Islam Makhachev in the first round.
Inside the cage, only one man backed up his words, and it was the Dagestani star. Makhachev dominated from start to finish, outstriking Oliveira on the feet before taking him down and controlling him with relentless pressure. In the second round, he dropped Oliveira before perfectly executing an arm triangle choke, which forced the People's Champion to tap, crowning Makhachev as the new lightweight champion.
Knockdown from Makhachev.
He's got the arm triangle. Oh, this is Spanish to the top.
Islam Makhachev submits Charles Oliveira to win the title.
Following the win, Team Makhachev was quick to call out featherweight champion and arguably the greatest featherweight of all time, Alex Volkanovski, who was in attendance for their first title defense. And Volk would step up to the challenge and would end out giving Makhachev the toughest fight of his entire career.
Now is our plan, fly all the way to Australia and fight in pound for pound king backyard.
Let's do it. Hey, the lightweight on the line, pound for pound number one on the line. Let's do it.
Heading into their battle at UFC 284, Makhachev underestimated Volkanovski's wrestling and his chances at lightweight.
You know how good you are. If he beats you this weekend, could he be considered the greatest of all time?
It's not possible because I am the champion and we fight 150 fight. This is not his area. This is other power, other division. I'm gonna beat him easy.
Not just Islam, many pros also thought Islam's fight IQ and wrestling would be too much to handle for the Aussie.
I just think Islam uses his weapons better, and I think Alexander is going to have to be really, really smart in order for him to get the win.
There's nothing Alexander could do because of what the sport of wrestling has taught Islam. Like if you guys, I competed in Dagestan. I've been humbled in Dagestan.
Volkanovski was adamant to prove his critics wrong.
He's pushing a narrative that there's no wrestling in Australia, that that I won't be able to feel the power and all that type of stuff. I am the underdog, but I love people down to me. I prove them wrong all the time, and I plan on doing that on Sunday.
Inside the cage, Volk proved exactly why he's one of the best as he pushed Makhachev to his absolute limit. Round after round, Volk stuffed Makhachev's takedowns, and even when he was taken down, he defended with skill and grit. For the most part, the fight stayed on the feet where Volk was expected to hold the advantage, but Makhachev matched him and at times was even better. Despite a late scare in the 5th round, Makhachev did enough to win by decision, and his resilience, chin, and especially calculated striking surprised his foe.
His eye's not too bad. He's got a good eye. His distance isn't too bad. Again, I could have capitalized more, man. Even in the, I guess I was just expecting him to be a bit more relentless in the shots.
This was the moment Makhachev was crowned as the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, and he agreed that he was exactly that. Just 10 months later, Volkanovski gained a second shot at Makhachev on just 10 days notice after Charles Oliveira pulled out of UFC 294. But this time, Makhachev wasn't going to settle for a decision. He was instead about to create one of the greatest highlights in UFC history. Despite stepping in on short notice, Volk planned to rectify mistakes from their first fight and knock the Dagestani out cold.
This being short notice, and me, it's going to be an exciting one too. So obviously I want to go out there and I want to hurt him, and we'll try and make sure it doesn't go 5 rounds. I want to finish it early. I go out there, I plan on knocking him out.
Makhachev had similar plans.
Last time I beat him 4 rounds, just last round he won. I just give him chance to last minute. But this fight, everything is gonna change. I want to finish him and finish all this talk about this fight.
When the two stepped into the cage at UFC 294, Makhachev was a man on a mission. He started by landing a few crushing body kicks before unleashing a perfect head kick. The Aussie star crumpled to the canvas and was knocked out cold in just 3 minutes.
Position. Huge moment in round 1. That'll do
Congratulations, you've got some ice there on your shin. Is that from throwing the kick?
Yeah, this guy real nuts, you know, his head so hard.
Cut by defeat, Volk admitted that he shouldn't have taken Makhachev on short notice.
You know, I don't want to sit there and obviously make excuses, you know what I mean? So, you know, obviously I'm a big believer in preparation and stuff like that, but you know, I back myself, so that's the decision I made. You know what I mean? You know, I could have made better decisions but you know, again, like he's not somebody you should be taking a short notice with.
People underestimated my striking, but I thought I can strike with anyone. This guy, one of the best striker in the UFC, and I just show my level. You know, I am not just wrestler. I am not just grappler. I always training. I am an MMA fighter, and people have to know I am the best MMA fighter in the world right now.
Makhachev's win had everyone talking about just how good he was and wondering if there was someone who could beat him.
Head kick. The oldest trick in the book. Go low, go high. And it worked. It worked a treat.
Anybody at 55, I don't, who beats that guy?
At this point, Makhachev's resume was only getting better and better, and he would continue to add to that resume when he faced UFC legend Dustin Poirier at UFC 302 and prove once again why he's the #1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Heading into his third title defense against Dustin Poirier at UFC 302, Makhachev was supremely confident in out-wrestling Poirier, drawing on the success of his mentor Khabib, who had dominated the Louisiana native at UFC 242.
Just one problem this guy have, his weak point is wrestling and the grappling. And, you know, I have the key for the easy fight, and I think if I follow the plan, I can beat him easy. My style and Khabib's style, it's a war style for the Dustin. People who can take him down, hold him there, it's always give him problem.
Poirier, however, believed that his previous experience of facing Khabib would give him a unique advantage against Makhachev.
I've done more in the sport of mixed martial arts than he has. I've been around a long time. I was doing this before it was cool, and I'm still here, you know, I'm still here doing it at the highest level. I could beat anybody in the world, and I hope he's next.
In the pre-fight press conferences, things started off civil.
He declared himself the best fighter in the world. Do you believe that he is the best fighter in the world right now?
We're going to find out Saturday, but pound-for-pound #1, current world champion, seems like it to me, but I'm going to find out. I'll be the judge of that.
But as the press conference went on, things started getting heated.
And Islam, yesterday at Media Day, you told us that you don't think Dustin or his coaches believe that he can beat you. What did you see or pick up on or hear from him that made you say that?
Man, I say truth. He always look good when he fight with some striking guys like
you should listen to your coaches and box
or Chandler or someone like this, you know, who always focus to the striking. But when he meet with some wrestlers, he always have trouble. That's why he don't believe.
He should listen to his coaches and box like they're telling him to. Do that, Islam. Let's box.
This is not boxing. This is MMA, man.
Well, you're going to sleep like it's boxing.
We'll see, we'll see.
Inside the octagon, Poirier surprised everyone with a takedown defense that was much more solid than expected, forcing Islam to stand and trade strikes with one of the most powerful and skilled boxers in the division. But Makhachev went toe-to-toe with Poirier and cracked him multiple times, showing off his own striking skills. As the fight wore on, Makhachev's pressure paid off in the 5th round when he caught Poirier's foot, spun him into a submission, and sealed the deal with a choke. After the fight, Poirier had nothing but praise for his rival, as he called him as good as Khabib.
Honestly, similar to Khabib, his movement is really strange. The timing of it is really strange to get his cadence. I wanted to open up more and throw more volume, but when he would commit to the pocket, he would exit weird. His dips with his head, I heard my corner telling me throw the knee the whole time, but I just felt like I might get taken down off of it. And his movement is just it's kind of awkward. It's a weird timing. So I couldn't get good combinations going. But everything else was what I expected.
Now, if you're an Islam Makhachev fan, you're probably a Khabib Nurmagomedov fan. So if you want to see 7 times where Khabib went into beast mode, check out this video here.